Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Brooke, and if you're new here, this is where we break silence and expose darkness. This is where we walk together from surviving to thriving. Today we're diving deep into one of the most misunderstood but most powerful aspects of abuse, the trauma bond. So if you've ever asked yourself, why can't I just leave? Or why do I love someone who hurts me? Or why do I keep going back when I know I shouldn't? Then this video is for you, because trauma bonding is the invisible chains that keep so many people trapped in an abusive relationship, and understanding it is the first step to freedom. I'm going to explain the science behind trauma bonding. I'm going to give you a practical understanding of it and show you why it's so incredibly powerful, because knowledge is power. And when you understand what's happening in your brain, you can start to reclaim your freedom. So if you're ready, let's dive in. So what exactly is trauma bonding? Let me try and explain it to you in the simplest form possible. Trauma bonding is when your brain gets deeply attached to someone who hurts you, because they mix hurt with just enough love to keep you hooked. It's your brain's survival response going haywire. It's your brain trying to make sense of someone who is both dangerous and the person you go to for comfort. It's like your brain gets confused on who is the threat and who is the safe person, because they're actually kind of the same person. Trauma bonding is a powerful emotional attachment that forms between an abuser and their victim. It's when your brain becomes deeply, intensely connected to someone who hurts you. And here's the heartbreaking part. It feels almost exactly like love. It's super confusing because you still get the same overwhelming, I can't live without them, think about them constantly type love. But it's not love. It's addiction. Your brain has become literally chemically dependent upon this person through a specific pattern of pain and relief, fear and comfort, abuse and affection. Trauma bonding is one of the strongest forms of psychological attachments known to science. Dr. Patrick Carnes, who pioneered the research on this, calls it a betrayal bond, because you're actually bonded to someone who keeps betraying you. And studies show that this happens in 8 out of every 10 abusive relationships. So if you're experiencing this and you don't know why you can't leave, you don't know why you keep going back, please know you are not alone and you are not weak. Your brain is responding exactly the way brains are wired to respond in these type of situations. Your brain is in survival instinct. Now, let me show you the science behind why this bond is so incredibly powerful. So, let me talk to you about the slot machine effect, or intermittent reinforcement. So, have you ever wondered why slot machines are so addictive? It's because you don't know when you'll win. Sometimes you lose, then bam! That unexpected win feels incredible. It's a dopamine hit. It's that good, feel-good chemical rushes in your brain. And so you keep playing, hoping for the next win, the next hit of dopamine. And the randomness makes you even more addicted. Because if you won every time on a slot machine, then you would lose interest, right? You would become bored. And the randomness makes you addicted than winning every single time. It's called intermittent reinforcement. And psychologist B.F. Skinner proved that it creates the strongest form of behavioral conditioning that exists. So your abusive relationship works exactly like a slot machine. Sometimes your partner is cruel. You lose. Sometimes they're loving and you win. But you never know which version of that person you're getting. And that unpredictability doesn't push you away. It actually pulls you in stronger. Your brain becomes obsessed with trying to figure out the pattern. If I just say the right thing or do the right thing, I could be better. I could get more wins. Your brain is constantly chasing those good moments, trying to get that dopamine hit. Those wins, even though the game is actually rigged and you're never going to win. This is why consistent kindness doesn't create a trauma bond. But the unpredictability of kindness mixed with cruelty does. The randomness is what makes it so powerful. So intermittent reinforcement, or pain and fear mixed with affection and attention, is actually creating a psychological addiction, and it's keeping you trapped. Now that we know that we're actually addicted to this cycle, let's learn about what the brain is doing during the cycle of abuse. So let's learn what's happening to our brains during the abuse cycle. And here's something that's really interesting but also really scary, is that trauma bonding involves the exact same chemicals in your brain that make people addicted to a drug like cocaine. Yeah, that's right. So trauma bonding uses the exact same chemicals in neural pathways as a cocaine addiction. I'm not exaggerating, that's just neuroscience. Let's figure out why this is. So we become addicted to the abuse cycle. And the first part of the abuse cycle is the abuse phase, right? That's where your partner is yelling at you, threatening you, hurting you, and your body floods with stress hormones. That's adrenaline and cortisol, right? And they surge through your system, and your heart starts to pound, you start to sweat, you feel terrified, and your entire nervous system is screaming, danger, danger. But abuse doesn't last forever. And the next phase is the relief phase. That's the calm after the storm. They apologize, they cry, they tell you they're sorry, they give you gifts, they hold you, they show you affection and attention. And during those moments, your brain releases a massive dose of dopamine, that is the pleasure chemical, and oxytocin, that's actually the bonding hormone. And so after drowning in fear and stress and cortisol and adrenaline, these hits of dopamine and oxytocin feel amazing to your body. It's like being held underwater and then coming up for air. Your body just loves it. And so the contrast between the terror and the relief is what makes the relief feel so much more powerful. Think of it like a roller coaster, right? The scarier, the more intense of the drop, the more the rush of relief and excitement when you make it to the bottom. Your brain starts associating this fear with the eventual pleasure, and the cycle becomes addictive, literally addictive. Research published in the Journal of Neuroscience found that neural pathways that activate during cocaine use are actually activated during trauma bonding. So your brain is literally addicted to this person and this cycle. Every time the cycle repeats, right, of abuse and then relief and love and then abuse, you get a hit of those powerful chemicals of dopamine and oxytocin, and your brain becomes even more chemically dependent and addicted to the cycle and the person. You're trapping yourself in more and more that you stay because you're addicted to this cycle, this feel good of this fear and then the relief. And so that's why trauma bonding is so powerful. Let's learn about the third and last part of trauma bonding, which is survival bonding. There is a third reason that trauma bonds are so powerful, and it's rooted in pure survival instinct. So it's known as a survival bond, or sometimes known as Stockholm Syndrome. And so when you're in a relationship with someone who has power over you, especially if you're isolated or financially dependent or afraid, your brain does something remarkable to help you survive the situation. It bonds you to your captor. So this is similar to Stockholm Syndrome, which is where hostages develop positive feelings for their captors. It's not a conscious choice that you're making. It's actually a survival mechanism. And so think about it this way. Like if you're locked in a room and your captor is withholding food and water and basic necessities, and sometimes that person is really mean to you, but then sometimes they're kind to you and they give you what you need, your brain will attach to them as your only source of survival. even though they're the ones that are locking you in. So your brain will reason, well, this person has all the power. My survival depends on keeping them happy. I need to bond with them. I need to try harder. I need to understand them. I need to please them because they are my only lifeline to survival. And this is why that it's important to learn the red flags and the tactics of abuse, because when we become isolated or financially controlled, and our dependency is based on them, it creates an even stronger trauma bond. And so your brain generally starts to believe that you need this person to survive. Add to this the fact that your abuser likely love bombed you in the beginning, right? They weren't always the mean person. They showered you with intense affection and love and attention. They made you feel special and chosen. And your brain remembers that version of them. They hold on to that version of them because it's too hard to believe that this person has turned into an abusive person. And so every time they show you a glimpse of kindness in the relief phase, your brain thinks, oh, there they are. That's the real them. They're still here. I just need to try harder to get them back. And so you're bonded to your abuser not as how they are now, but as how they used to be. And, it's who they promised that they would be and not who they actually are. And we become bonded with that. So these are all the reasons that trauma bonding is so intense. Now let's put it all together and figure out why it even matters. Let's put it all together and recap and remember why it all matters. So trauma bonding is an incredibly strong bond to your abuser. It happens through intermittent reinforcement or the slot machine effect that makes your brain obsessed with chasing those feel-good moments. And then there's the actual chemical addiction. This means your brain is literally dependent on the cycle of stress and relief. And then there's survival bonding. This is where your brain attaches to your captor or your abuser because it actually believes it needs them for your survival. This is why you can know logically that a relationship is bad and that you need to leave, but you feel emotionally unable to leave. Your logic is in one part of your brain, but the addiction and the chemicals and the survival instincts are in a deeper, more primitive part of your brain, and they are much more powerful than logic. This is why when people say, just leave, that feels so impossible because they don't understand that you're actually dealing with addiction. It's a neurological addiction, and your brain has been rewired to need the cycle of abuse and pain and pleasure. And it's also your survival instincts that are telling you to stay. You can't survive without them. Understanding this does not make it easy to leave, but it does help you realize that it's not your fault and that it's not about your strength or your worth. This is actual brain chemistry and neuroscience and conditioning and survival mechanisms. You're not weak for staying. You're human. And your brain is doing exactly what it's been scientifically conditioned to do. It's trying to help you survive. And so learning the reasons behind trauma bonding is just the first step. And in the next video, we're going to learn about steps to take to break the trauma bond. But for now, please know that you're not alone and that this is a common thing and it's an actual addiction in your brain. But there are ways to break free from it. Now let's figure out what God says and let's use His hope to heal trauma bonding. Before we close, I want to share what God says about bonds and about freedom. Because if you're a person of faith, this stuff matters. And so in Galatians 5:1, it tells us that it is for our freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm, then do not let yourselves be burdened again by the yoke of slavery. Trauma bond is a yoke of slavery. It's a chain. And God's heart for you is freedom, not bondage. If you feel like you can't break free from the trauma bond, remember Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, for I am with you, and do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you and uphold you with my righteous right hand. Breaking a trauma bond isn't just a psychological battle. It's a spiritual one too. You're fighting for your freedom, for your life. and for the future God has planned for you. And God will give you the strength to break free. The bond can feel strong, but our God is stronger. The addiction can feel powerful, but God's power is greater. And the chains can feel unbreakable, but our God is a chain breaker. Nothing is impossible with God. And so when you're feeling trapped and when you're feeling stuck and when you're feeling like you have no hope, put your hope and your faith in God, because He will see you through and He will break you free from the chains of trauma bond. So as we close, I want you to remember that trauma bonding is real. It's powerful, and it's definitely not your fault. What it is it's intermittent reinforcement creating obsession. It's a chemical addiction in your brain, and it's your survival instincts keeping you attached. All of these together create a bond that feels nearly impossible to break. But here's the truth. Understanding how it works is the first step to breaking it. Now that you know that your brain has actually been hijacked by intermittent reinforcement, by chemical addiction, and by survival bonding, you can start to see it for what it is. In future videos, we're going to talk about how to break trauma bonds, safety planning, and the healing journey. But today, I want you to know and understand why trauma bonding is so strong. Because when you understand it, and understand that it's not about your weakness, that it's actually about neuroscience, and you can start to use compassion for yourself and for others who are stuck in it. If you need support right now, please reach out to the National Domestic Abuse Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. They're there to help, and they'll help you create a safety plan and help you to break the chains of trauma bond and get to freedom. If this video helped you understand trauma bonding, please share it. Someone you know might be trapped by the invisible chains of trauma bonding, and it's important for them to understand why they can't leave and to give themselves grace. Hit the subscribe button for more content on breaking free and healing. And let me know in the comments, did this video help you understand something about why trauma bonding is so strong? And thank you for being here. You are not weak. You are not broken. Your brain has been hijacked, but you can get it back. And I'm here to help you do that. I'll see you in the next video. And remember, you're not breaking a relationship when you leave. You're actually breaking a chain. And that freedom is possible. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.